Howdy, folks. I'm 13 ornamented owls operatically hooting ominous overtures.
I'm Amber.
And here's an extended 12 days of Christmas.
Yeah, we have like 16 or 17 now.
17 days of Christmas, folks. We're making it better, longer, harder to remember. Let's get started. Oh, and I also have a special tea today. So it's not any of our options.
Yeah,
So,
it's a special guest tea.
special guest tea. A Miss Tea Ree tea. Alright, folks, and our first letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Telling My Wife to Stop Burning My Meals? My wife has always been a pretty rotten cook. If she's not underbaking cakes, she's scorching tenderloins and over-searing broccoli. It's as if she has no concept of time at all and just estimates while she's fixing me meals. I would cook, but I work long hours and I'm rarely home before 8 p.m. Well, last night, she messed up royally. On Saturday, I had purchased expensive cuts of steak and taught her how to operate our grill. I made her demonstrate to me how to turn it on and off, where all the tools were, etc. I was pretty confident that this would be an easy enough task, but she was determined to prove me wrong. As I pulled in the driveway, I noticed black scorch marks on the front of my house, and some of the vinyl siding had begun to melt. The grill was still there, and fortunately, my wife had turned it off, but I was still furious. I stormed into the house and demanded to know what had happened. My wife came up with some stupid excuse of not thinking that the steaks were cooking, which then caused her to turn up the heat. She then explained that the grease from the steaks had started a fire, and then she had gotten assistance of a neighbor to help put it out. Needless to say, I was mortified. I couldn't believe that she dragged our neighbor into this and embarrassed us with this little stunt. But then I caught a glimpse of the steaks. They were like charred, shriveled hockey pucks. I could tell just by looking at them that they were inedible. I told my wife that she might as well just throw the steaks away, since she couldn't be bothered to cook them properly. She got extremely defensive when I said this, as if this was my fault that she destroyed our dinner and melted the side of our house. I told her, let's get one thing straight. This is all on you. I admit that I raised my voice, but she 100% deserved it. This caused her to cry, and quickly excused herself to the bathroom. Now I'll have to waste time and money this weekend replacing the siding when I had planned to go to a friend's house to watch football. Sometimes I think that I'm married to one of the Three Stooges when this kind of thing happens. I wish that she could see things from my perspective, but seemingly all she wants to do is fight me. I'm getting really tired of her antics. Am I the jerk? Alright, folks, what do you think? Jerk or not the jerk?
Yeah, I think Opie's being a jerk here, and I don't even think he likes his wife. Like, I understand it's frustrating when you want a certain meal and come home and it's not what you want, but some people just can't cook to save their lives. And as long as she's pulling her weight in the household in other respects, it might be time to either, invest in like microwavable meals or something that is really hard to mess up.
Yeah, this is a little bit of a difficult situation. I think that OP is certainly in the wrong here. I think that OP should get nothing but shriveled, charred steaks under the Christmas tree this year. But I think that he expected her, like, she ruins everything.
Mm-hmm.
She can't cook to save her life. And suddenly you think, I'm going to buy her steaks. I'm going to tell her how to cook in the grill, and that she's just going to miraculously pull this off.
Right. It doesn't make any sense. Like, people who have trouble with cooking aren't going to develop those skills overnight. So you're asking too much of her.
Now, sorry.
I was going to say, if someone is trying to learn to cook, you start with the really, really basic things and then work up to the more complicated stuff.
Yeah. I think there is a point where if she's doing this as kind of a malicious incompetence, that's one thing, but I don't know if that's the case here. It sounds like she's just sincerely bad at cooking.
Yeah, well, and some people, like, I had a misconception until I was a full-grown adult that you just cooked everything on high, and I didn't even understand why the stove had other, like, knobs. It sounds like she has a hard time understanding that, like, turning things up higher isn't always the best course of action. And so there are a lot of misconceptions you can have that can make cooking a difficult thing.
Yeah, I think that you should have started off with cooking lessons, right? This seems like it's a point of contention in your relationship. It seems like it's a something that causes a lot of friction between you two. And I can understand if you work late and you're working hard that you want a nice home cooked meal, right? And it's understandably probably frustrating if you get home and there's not something edible. And I can understand that, but I think that you're going about this wrong. I think that you're taking this out on her, and I think that you're really kind of misplaced here with the anger and the ire, especially since you already knew that she was probably going to mess up cooking steaks up. You just somehow expected her to magic food to be worked this time. I don't know.
Yeah, it just seems like I know the post is just dripping with disdain
In
and
contempt, yeah.
yeah. Nowhere in the post does he say, "Oh, my wife is so great, but she just
Mm-hmm.
can't cook to save her life." Like there's honestly like what why are you two together if you have nothing but disdain for her?
Yeah, I think that OP and his wife should sit down. I think they need to talk. I think that if this is something that's really important to him, that maybe she could go to some kind of cooking lessons or even tutorials online. She may very well have a no sense of time. She may have no sense of like certain things like ADHD. I'm not saying this is what she has. I'm saying that sometimes things like ADHD can make people distracted, where they can't pay attention to something as simple as cooking, and they ruin meals or something like
Yeah.
that, because like there's sometimes they lost track of time, and that's all the only reason why I even mentioned this is because he's like, it's like she's winging it and she has no sense of time.
Right, and the people who have trouble with executive function, that is a common issue, is either losing track of time, getting sidetracked, all
Hmm.
those sorts of things.
Yeah, and I mean, for me, when I'm cooking, it's really the only thing I can focus on, because if I start to focus on other things, that's when stuff starts getting ruined and stuff like that. And it may be just one of these things where she's not good at focusing on cooking. Maybe it's really boring to her, and so it doesn't keep her attention, which, I mean, again, isn't a great excuse, but it might be a reason why she's not able to cook.
OP may just be expecting too much out of her
Hmm.
again. Some people can't cook or aren't good at cooking,
Yeah,
and
it's a hard situation. It really is. And I would really be curious about their chore distribution and stuff like that too here.
that was what I was gonna say. Is like if it seems like in the rest of the relationship she's pulling her weight, like what does she have a job or is she a
Hmm.
stay-at-home parent
Yeah,
or
yeah.
like what's going on in the situation? Look at your chore distributions. Is there any way, like, if the cooking is really important to you that it gets done, can you shuffle other things to
Hmm.
make it so she can make it a priority? Or can you maybe take that off her plate and give her another chore to do and then just switch to microwave meals?
Yeah. There are also meals that are really, really hard to ruin. Things like pot roasts, things like slow cooked meals. Set them and check on them when you get home, right? So that might be something that you can work out as a kind of a compromise here, is in the interim while she learns how to cook, do slow cooking. Do cooking that's hard for her to mess up. It doesn't necessarily have to be microwaved or frozen foods, but that might also help to alleviate some of the frustration, is if you were to invest in something like a Stover's lasagna, that's going to be able to be had for a couple of days.
Yeah, and meal prepping too. Like it sounds like you have time on the weekends where like if you really like the home cooked food, you could meal prep and then you just have to reheat it for the rest of the week.
Yeah. But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. And where is that V charger says, "You're the jerk. I feel bad for your wife. I can tell how much you don't respect her at all by the way you talk about her. So she's a bad cook. Move on. Stop being a jerk about it and find a different solution. You can cook, you can meal prep, and do slow cooker meals while you're at work." And Dimbatron says, "Yeah, what in the actual world? Poor wife, married to such an entitled, judgmental jerk. Cook your own steaks." I mean, I would like to point out that if he's getting back home at like 8 p.m., that might not be a feasible or reasonable thing for him to do. I mean, certainly that's he might want to be able to just come home and eat a meal, and I understand that.
But also, what time is his day starting?
Yeah.
If he's coming home at 8 p.m., is he starting at 8 a.m. or is he starting at like noon or
Hmm.
something like that?
And Lanky Neighborhood 576 says, "Beggars can't be choosers. You're the jerk big time. If you knew that she would mess it up, why didn't you cook the steaks? If you were busy, then something's gotta give. Eat out, craft dinner, or cook the steaks yourself." Some people just can't boil water. And that's not a failing on them or a lack of education. Sometimes they try their hardest and they just fail, sometimes catastrophically. We all have our strengths and weaknesses. Don't pretend that you're an expert in everything. Maybe your wife is amazing at sewing. If she's busy and she's tasked with repairing a pair of jeans and said, it's easy, just put the pants here, push the pedals like this, do a few times, and there, you're done. Do you think that it would come out perfect? Do you think that you can do it right the first time? I know sewing pants can't burn down the house. Think of the principle of it. She said that the steaks didn't look like they were cooking. Did you show her how to do it? Did she fully experience the process of cooking a steak from start to finish? Or did you just show her how to turn on the grill and what temperature and how long? Seriously reconsider your relationship if you are adamant that she cooks. Otherwise, start preparing your own dinner after 8 p.m. That would free up your wife to do other household tasks. That way, you can guarantee that the house won't burn down, you will be fed, and she can stay out of the kitchen. Also, you're married. It's not just your house. It's yours and hers. Her inabilities, by extension, are your inabilities. She burned down the house, she burned down hers too. Shape up and start treating your best friend like she's valued and wanted in the relationship. Otherwise, let her go and be mad at yourself for not having a dinner cooked earlier. I mean, I guess that's fair. What would he do if he was single? Alright folks, and our next letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Wearing My Wedding Dress to Someone Else's Wedding? Please read the whole story before jumping to conclusions. I'm a 20-year-old female and I married my husband 2 years ago. We aren't rich and we don't care that much about weddings, so I wore my prom dress to my wedding. It's not a super fancy dress or anything, it's basically just a long sequin dress in a deep dark blue with one sleeve. My friend Sierra, a 22-year-old female, was attending my wedding. Since the wedding, I wore it on a few occasions because it's basically one of the only fancy dresses that I own. Recently, Sierra was getting married, and I was obviously invited. The wedding color scheme was dark blue, and she requested fancy attire, so I thought that my dark blue dress would be fine. It's not white, and it's not even remotely close to a wedding dress. I also didn't feel like wasting money on another fancy dress that I wouldn't wear ever again, especially since we aren't rich. So I showed up at her wedding in my dark blue sequins dress. It wasn't standing out or anything. Most of the guests were wearing even more fancier dresses. However, when Sarah saw me, she lost it. She yelled at me in front of all the guests, in front of her husband and my husband, saying that what I did was horrible, and that no one shows up at a wedding in a wedding dress. I tried to reason with her, saying that the dress isn't a wedding dress. It's only a fancy piece of clothing that I own. I wore it to multiple occasions before and after my wedding. She didn't listen and kept yelling at me to the point where our bridesmaids and her husband started trying to calm her down. She also said a bunch of unsavory names to me. I was very upset with the drama and decided to leave with my husband. Then I started getting texts from Sierra, who blamed me for upstaging her on her wedding day, for driving a wedge between her and her husband, since he said that she overreacted massively and upset her friend over a dress. I decided to ignore them because I think that she's being unreasonable, but a part of me thinks that I was a jerk here because I wore the dress to my own wedding. Alright folks, what do you think?
Not the jerk. The rule exists so that someone else doesn't either upstage the bride or confuse people about who the bride is. If the bride is in white and OP is in blue sequins that match the rest of the guest's attire, no one is going to get confused.
Yeah.
No one is going to think OP is upstaging the bride. So I think that's the principle that matters more than where she wore the dress to.
Yeah, I think that that's really what the nuts and bolts of this are. I think that Sierra is overreacting. I think that she needs to put things in perspective. And it makes me wonder why she would set the color scheme to blue, knowing especially that OP has worn this dress to other fancy events and it's kind of her go-to fancy dress. So I think that Sierra may, if she really didn't want OP to wear this, then she should have explicitly told OP, who she's friends with and would have been able to easily say something to tell her to not wear this dress.
Yeah, some people in the comments have speculated that since the friend is very well aware that OP wears the dress all the time, that she might have done this as a setup, which I don't know what the motive would be, but that is a possibility. again, OP meant no harm in doing this. It wasn't like a white dress. It wasn't anything overly fancy that's going to detract from the bride. It was just a dress she happened to wear to her wedding.
Yeah. But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. And a part ad 6518 says, not the jerk, 100%. Anyone reading the headline would have had their finger straight on the Y. In this circumstance, however, it was absolutely okay to wear that dress, and she ruined her own wedding, as well as shouting at you for no reason. Even her husband thinks that she's a jerk from the sounds of things. I suspect that she not only lost you as a friend, but her husband likely is going to lawyer up soon. She sounds like she would be a nightmare to live with. Alright folks, and our next letter is titled, Am I a jerk for not letting my mom loan my wedding dress to her friend? So I moved 3 hours away from home when I got married, and at the time I couldn't bring all of my belongings with me because we didn't have a house yet. My wedding dress is among the other things that stayed at my mom's house. We have a house now, a year later, but with a new baby, I just haven't had the time to go to my mom's house to pick up all of my things. Last night, my mom texted me to ask me if I wanted my wedding dress anymore. She said that she has this friend who is getting married and they needed a wedding dress and asked me if I would let her have my dress. And she said that she tried it on and it even fit her. I told her absolutely not, that this was something special to me and that I would bring it back with me next time I go and see her. She goes on to try to convince me that the dress is just something materialistic and that I could at least just let her borrow it because they don't have a lot of money for their wedding. At this point, I'm getting annoyed and just keep telling her no. She says that it will be just for this one day and that she'll get it tailored for me afterwards, and that there's no point in just letting it waste away in my closet. Now I'm just annoyed at my mom, and I tell her to go find one at Goodwill if she's so desperate, and no, her friend cannot have mine. My mom has always tried to convince me to do things that I don't want to, and when I was younger, she would always get her way. Now that I'm older, I've learned to stand up to her and be firm when I say no. Am I being the jerk here? Alright folks, what do you think?
No, OP, you're not being the jerk. But if that dress matters to you, I would go get it yourself ASAP, or if you can't, find someone in your hometown or wherever and have them get the dress, because there's a good chance the mom has either already given the dress away or is very soon going to.
Yeah.
Especially if she's used to getting her way and just expects you to roll over and accept it.
Yeah, I'm a little worried that the mom has already given the dress away and that this was more or less just a, oh look, haha, can you do this please? And then when she didn't get the response that she was looking for, the reason why she's probably being so insistent on it at this point in time is because she may have already promised it, or it may already be out of the house.
Yeah, so definitely go get that dress ASAP. And the mom isn't even being honest here, it seems like, because in one breath she's like, oh, the dress fit my friend perfectly, and the other breath she's like, oh well, we can get it retailored to you afterward. Like, It doesn't sound like it fits her perfectly. They're gonna be doing some alterations on this dress. Yeah, I don't trust the mom here, and it's your dress. You are entitled to keep it. You don't have to give it out just because your mom wants you to.
Yeah, exactly. But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. And OP has a comment here. It seems that a lot of people are wondering why I would leave my dress at my mom's for over a year. The house that we bought was old and needed new flooring and new paint and a whole new kitchen because the cabinets were falling apart. My husband and I have saved up money to work on this house, and throughout the first year, we were living in and remodeling the house at the same time. We redesigned all the closets, and at first, we just had a couple of suitcases of clothes to reach for, and all the rest of our belongings were in boxes in the spare bedroom and our garage, and we would move boxes around the house as we got to each room to work on it. It has been a slow process since we can only work on the house in the evenings after work. I just thought because it was my mom that I could trust her and that she would save some special items for me until I could get them from her. All of my siblings have left the house and we have left her 3 bedrooms empty, and I just assumed that she had plenty of space. But maybe I should have just paid for storage when I moved out. I would be saving myself this headache. And MCAS299 says, not the jerk, but go and get your dress now. My guess is that she already told her friends yes, and wouldn't be surprised if it isn't at your mom's anymore, but the friend's place until she gets married. And Crafty Gardener says, the fact that mom has already let friends try the dress on without consulting OP makes me think that you are right. There is a very good possibility that the friend already has the dress and had it tailored to fit her. Otherwise, why would the mom be talking about having the dress retailored to OP? And OP replies, sorry, I meant to say that she offered to get it professionally dry cleaned, not tailored. My mistake. I haven't gone to get the dress yet, but my sister is bringing it to me over the holidays if she can find it. Alright folks, it is tea time. Grab your beverages of choice. I've got some special mystery tea here, and Amber, she has a joke.
Why wasn't the 500-pound monster allowed to fight in the monster boxing tournament?
Well, the reason why the 500-pound monster wasn't allowed to fight in the boxing tournament is because he was too small, and they were afraid that he would get hurt, and then that would be a tragedy. And of course, we can't have that in Monsterland.
Yeah, exactly. There were no other lightweights in the tournament.
Yeah, exactly. And I have, I don't know how to pronounce it, but it's supposed to, I think, be pronounced as chocolate, but spelled with an X. It's, I think, the original kind of Aztec spelling, and it's called Divine Herbal Cocoa Tea. So this one kind of has a chocolatey flavor. It's not like a very potent chocolatey flavor, but it's actually a very pleasant tea. I actually like it a lot.
Yeah, we've kind of gotten a reputation for being tea people, so people like to give us tea.
Yeah. So to brew it, apparently you're supposed to use 1 tablespoon per 8-ounce boiling H2O, but I used 1 teaspoon.
That would explain why it's not as potent as I was expecting.
I was kind of expecting it to be far more like flavorful, and I guess that explains a lot. I was like, oh, 1 teaspoon, that's usually how much you use for tea, right? 1 teaspoon. And then I guess I just should have read the instructions. But who reads instructions? Not me, for sure. Alright, folks, that's all the time we have for today. Thank you so much for watching. Happy Friday! It's the end of the week. Congratulations, we made it. Amber, we need some kind of moral advice and or guidance. And please, have it involve 13 of something.
Not everyone is going to get cooking right on the first try or the 13th. Sometimes it's just better to redistribute the chores so that everyone is happier.
You know, that might be a good slice of pie philosophy. Slice of life philosophy. Thanks so much for watching. And we'll see you all tomorrow.
Bye!
Slice of pie for life philosophy.